strategic affairs, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Click the bell icon for updates.
Hello and welcome to Stat News Global, and welcome to our signature show on foreign affairs and security, The Gist. Hi, I'm Surya Gangadharan. Tomorrow, October 1st, is an auspicious day in the Chinese calendar. It marks the founding of the People's Republic of China on this day in 1949. So, a lot of history over there. We have with us General Rakesh Sharma. He was the former 14th Corps commander in Ladakh. He is a distinguished fellow at the Vivekanand Foundation. And we're going to talk to him about the import of this anniversary, what it means, and something that he's also been writing about in his columns. General Sharma, welcome, sir. Glad to have you.
Thank you, Surya. Thank you for inviting me.
Sir, I quote from a recent article of yours. You say that there is a deep push in China to draw a balance between economic development and social development, revitalization of a socialist culture, newer concepts of development and prosperity. Is this cultural revolution revisited of some kind?
Yes, Surya, of course, Cultural Revolution 2.0 is a dramatic nomenclature. But if it's not that, it's fairly close to it. It matters a lot as to what is happening. And it's all been unveiled in the course of last about 12 odd months. Of course, there were some ideas coming up in the 19th People's Congress. But subsequently, last 1 year, and more specifically, last 6-7 months, there have been significant changes which show a kind of revolutionary change which is happening in China. So this is actually a very important time for us to watch out as to what's exactly what is the ambit of the whole thing.
Mm-hmm. Now, this crackdown on the tech sector in China, suggests that they are rivals to the Communist Party. Therefore, they must be cut to size, regardless of the economic consequences. What do you make of that?
Okay, no, look, tech sector is one part of the story. I think the story is that what Deng Xiaoping started in say 82 or something, the 12th Congress.
Yeah.
The liberalization that he started. That liberalization has run its course till the 17th Congress, the 19th Congress that happened in 2017, when Xi Jinping brought out the issue of new era. Now, new era was not understood and not fathomed as to what he meant. But what he's actually going back is into some ideological makeover, which is more akin to what was there in Mao's times. So the tech sector is one part of the story. The other part of the story is there is a ideological change happening here, and the ideological change matters a lot into how things will pan out as times to come.
Mm-hmm. So, is this ideological change basically meant to reinforce Xi Jinping? I mean, remove his rivals, leave the field clear to him?
Okay, I think I would grant him his work quite a bit on this issue in the course of last 9 odd years, in which there has been a serious purge of people who were taken as corrupt. Now, in the garb of corruption, anyone who I think would have been an opposition to him, Bozilai and all the others, have been eased out gradually, and they have lost, they're not even in any limelight. So that purge has happened. And, if you recollect 2017, he also amended the constitution saying that now the president can be for life. This president for life started in 1991. So, there has been the purge carried out, and now he is wanting to consolidate his position in the party to make sure when the 20th Congress happens, which is in, say, October or November next year, there will be no challenge to him to get on the extension beyond the 10 years, which is a significant thing. Rightly, he should be retiring in next year, and no name has been brought up till date. So there, next year's end of next year is a very significant part of it. And most of these opposition, I think, has been sidelined or purged or called corrupt. Or one of the figures I mentioned is that 73 odd generals have been packed away. So there
Yeah.
is a significant thought process over a period of 9 years that he's brought about in the country.
And is it your view that most of his rivals have been eliminated? The field is largely clear, barring some kind of a miracle, of course.
So, yeah, barring something of a miracle, I think most of the people around will be, if you're not a henchman may be a strong word, but people who are not so opposed to him. And, if he brings about the kind of common prosperity that he's been speaking about and makes a significant change here, then the road for him in October, November next year will be smoother.
So you mentioned common prosperity. You wrote that regulations have been tightened and foreign capital is not considered essential. So seriously, what is the alternative here? Or is he trying to get people used to a lower standard of living, given all the opposition against China that is building up worldwide?
Okay, Surya, first is that we have information, but then every time the information is always wanted. We not exactly know, so one reads so much when you get to form an opinion. Common prosperity, which he meant, is of course he wants to redistribute wealth. It's not a new term. It started
Yeah.
in 49 onwards. It's been on for quite some time in Mao's times also. So it has been a repeat. It's brought in now. Why common prosperity? There is a large differentiation. Now, if you recollect, in the Forbes list last year, they had shown that China has got nearly 700 billionaires. It includes the ones in Hong Kong and Macau. So it's 700 odd billionaires, nearly about nearly 40% of the billionaires of the world belong to him, which is substantial numbers. Now, if you see, when he says common prosperity, are the people suffering? They have done a fantastic job of poverty elevation. We must grant China, they've done a very good job on poverty elevation. But there are 4 or 5 things which irk and pain the people of China. One is healthcare. Real estate is a very big problem. It's so expensive to buy a real estate, and everybody puts 30 to 40% of his lifetime savings in real estate itself. Transportation is very expensive to move from one place to another place, and education is very expensive. So these are the 4 basics that a person requires. Now, if there is a common prosperity, there has to be siphoning away from this larger corporation, these huge corporations that he has created, and take the money from them and give it across for the prosperity in bringing down some kind of to the common people. The anxiety in a totalitarian country is that the people must not feel offended and rise against the establishment. If the people rise against the establishment, for example, Tiananmen Square, well, that is a thing not acceptable to in a socialist country. And I think China had also lost out on its socialist moorings quite a bit. It had become, I just want to quote what Deng Xiaoping, I wrote in this article also. He said, a cat can be white or black. It doesn't matter if it can eat mice. So any way you get money doesn't matter at all. Till the time money is coming to you and there is prosperity here. So common prosperity is to bring about to the people a kind which who are getting angry and annoyed or unhappy, especially in the urban areas. And the differentiation between the rich and the poor is so much that there is an attempt to bring about a common prosperity. I mean, that's what I think he means.
You think this is the way to go about it? I mean, taking away from the rich, giving to the poor. It's an old theory, I'm not sure it has really worked anywhere.
So, when he started talking about it, I went across somewhere, some of these corporations started jumping on one on top of the other, and they started giving philanthropic money. So, somebody has given, like 10 cent has given some 7-8 billion, and, others have started giving some money to show, okay, we are philanthropic. We are wanting to join up with the common good and the common people. So, I think that makes a lot of difference. Now, I'll take a step back also, Surya. There is a demographic report, sometime earlier, it's a demographic report, it was in the news. Why people don't have a second child, despite the fact that they're pushing the issue of second children, is because their fertility rate is 1.3%. It is way down even from, say, United States, 1.7 or something. People can't afford to have a second child. it is just that it is beyond the capacity to have a second child. So has to be a demographic change. To bring about a demographic change, money has to be put into the hands of these people. Now, I'll say that other issue that he raised is the dual circulation economy. One was trying to read as to what does he mean by dual circulation economy, and it actually implies is that like what India is a consumerist society. I think the attempt is being made here that people should spend here. So you get money in the hand of people, and people should spend within the country. So it is not so much export orientation. The orientation also shift to inside people, inside the country, people spending, the dual circulation part of it. So to move the economy of the country, like it moves largely for India also, the consumer class of people have to start spending. That may be a thought process. Now, to answer your question shortly, will it succeed? All these are good questions. Time will tell. 1 year, next 1 year is the critical period for us to see how much success he is able to achieve in these goals.
So all this stems from the anxiety that there could be unrest in the streets, isn't it, General? I mean, for a totalitarian government, that is the biggest concern.
I take it that's the prime concern that they have. That's why, see, again, last 10 years, the Communist Party has been greatly strengthened. It wasn't so much in Hu Jintao's time or Jiang Zemin's time. The Communist Party, now even the SOEs, the state enterprises, have got communist people who have kind of a board of directors. Even before an issue goes to board, it gets approved by a communist body in every state-owned enterprises. So there is a cultural shift happened. And he's made commissions. There's a commission made in 2018 who's supposed to oversee the SOEs. And now, of course, lately one has been hearing he's pushing the SOEs to buy out many of these private corporations which are not so very functional or not so very effective. So there is an effort being made to do that. So there is a thought process. Like I'll say again, no revolution, if it is a revolution, and I take it it's a revolution, a cultural revolution 2.0, if it is so, no revolution comes out without attendant fears of something going wrong. All this will be there. Those attendant fears that all will not be hunky-dory, well, that will be there. So, I mean, one can only, it's a bamboo curtain. We can only anticipate what's going to happen or imagine what's going to happen and conjecture. But what exactly is going to happen, only time will tell.
So vis-a-vis India, what do you expect? More belligerence?
Yeah, look, here I'll take another step differently. We are saying that he's becoming more leftist by nature, more Marxist-Leninist, more socialist. But then there is rightist tendencies also. The tendencies to bring nationalism. Last year, if you recollect, they said, the ambassadors and all were all wolf warriors, etc. This wolf warrior thing was spoken about. Wolf warrior was not meant for the country that the ambassadors posted. The wolf warrior thought process was being put across to his own people. They were tweeting like anyway on all Weibos and everything was full, saying, addressing their own constituency back home. There are great efforts to hone in nationalism. Why do they say that nowadays people on none of these video channels, gaming is not allowed? People who are now got so fond of gaming, you can only game for 3 hours in a week. There is effeminate looking men. The movies and all, they showed men who are little feminine looking men. These will not be shown on the video channels. So what is happening is that there is an inherent desire to bring in nationalism, heighten nationalism. How do you best heighten nationalism? Use military forces, use threat. You go across to Taiwan, you do incursions there, you threaten Taiwan, you go to Senkaku Islands, go to South China Sea, come and tap Ladakh. All this is honing nationalism. It strengthens the hierarchy into a form that they are able to respond. How to answer a question? There's something going to happen. Well, if we follow what is happening in Tibet and what's happening in Xinjiang in matters of infrastructure development or relocation of people, or rehabilitation of people, I think it will be wise to be cautious. and I will state, which I state again and again, is that we must not allow ourselves to be strategically surprised. We tend to get taken aback suddenly when something happens. You know what happened last year? We were taken aback. It happened in Kargil. We were taken aback. We need to make sure we are not strategically surprised. So we have to get involved in a manner that you are actually pre-warned sometime earlier that something is going to happen. It is bound. It's a bounden duty to make sure that we know what is going to happen.
Since you mentioned that we were taken aback, there's a question from one of our viewers, Bruce Wayne. Why the news like incursions into Galwan come so late? Uttarakhand incursion also came late in September. He's probably asking why is it that they went undetected?
So they didn't go undetected. In the Barahuti, which happened on say 30th of August or something, our people, we have ITBP there. That place is managed by ITBP. So we would know, and we know every year the Chinese do come to Barahuti at least once or twice in a season, in the winter, in the summer period, and they have come. So it is the only thing is that it has brought across to the media a little later. It is disseminated to the public a little later. It's not that we did not know it. And even in the areas of Ladakh, the day these 4 or 5 incursions happen simultaneously. See, we have been having incursions from the Chinese in Ladakh for a very long time. There were fisticuffs, there were scuffles, there was, these things were happening. But it never happened in a multiple places. And it never happened when he brought 2 divisions prior to it. So even without doing the incursions, there were 2 divisions there to give him some kind of warmth. And thereafter, he did incursions in 4 places. That's the first time thing happening. And we would have come to know the minute it happened, because we do intensive patrolling in those areas. That it comes across to the media and it is get debated by strategic circles and is a separate issue altogether. That's a governmental policy saying, okay, when we are ready, we will inform them. So that I won't say that we did not know it. We would know it, but it is probably not brought across in the open forum.
So in Barahuti, when the Chinese came in, is there any protocol we follow in terms of stopping them or questioning them or anything of that kind?
So we have we would have followed the drills of the protocols, which actually see that protocols have been followed for a last 15-20 years, from 1993. In fact, 96 when the protocols actually started. The protocols would have been followed. There would have been banner drills, and I think they went back into us. So in Barahuti also the similar procedure would have gone through, and they went back and they came on horses. When for a news item says 100 horses and 55 people were 100 people, 55 were horses. Balance of 45 must be running behind them or something. So these people have come. They would have followed the drills. They would have protected themselves, having been cautioned by what happened in Ladakh last year. So the drills would have varied, and these people, after 2 hours of this kind of exchange, they would have gone back on their own. So this incursion, or I would not say incursion here, I'll say transgression that happened in Barahuti was a short duration one, and they would have gone back. It isn't equal to what happened in Ladakh. In Ladakh, they came and refused to go back. And still having now they have created those buffers. So having created the buffer zones, it is not that they've withdrawn back into their April things. They are still located close by.
So the question that arises here, last question, we are nearly at the end of our time. We seem to be at the receiving end always. Do we ever go over there to their side of the LAC and do a little, thing of our own? I mean, I know it's difficult for you to say that, but
so see what we considered our line of actual control, which actually overlaps with his line of actual control. What he says it. We have been doing these things off and on, and in many other places. Like we say this Barahuti itself, or we say many other areas. I will not name them; it will become difficult for us. But even in eastern Ladakh, there are places even today that we would be venturing across into areas which he deems or he says that it is his. So it is still happening there. Like, say, example, Demchok in the names across there, and many other places we would be patrolling and dominating. Many places we would be permanently located now for the fear that he might come and sit down. So the things would have dramatically changed in the course of last 1 year. So the fact is that we do our own bit, and which he may be calling him transgressions or incursions, whatever he calls it. But we are dominating the areas which are laid down to us as our deemed line of actual control, and we do dominate it.
So I have a final question from one of our viewers, Chaitanya. Basically, what he's asking is, how can India use the freedom fighters in Tibet, post the Dalai Lama era? Basically, I think that's what he's trying to ask.
I think this is the right question you should have asked the gentleman who was on interview with you some time ago, Surya, from the Tibet government, which I saw the interview at the time. So the fact is that if we are not using them, I think we are losing something out. We ought to be using them. I mean, I'd say a layman, a retired man's guess, a retired man's opinion, but I would say yes. If we are, this is how I say that we ought to avoid being strategically surprised. That's the only way of doing things. You have to have human on ground, and I think if we are not doing it, we ought to get planned for it. We ought to plan for it.
So just to sum up, there's an extreme wave of nationalism now sweeping China, orchestrated by the Communist Party. All of it is basically looking at the Communist Party Congress a year from now, whether it'll re-anoint Xi Jinping to be president for life or general secretary for life. And given that period, anything can happen. It's an uncertain period for us, perhaps even for the ruling party in China. The last thing they want is any unrest in the streets. General Rakesh Sharma, sir, thank you very much for this insight, and looking forward to more discussions on this going forward.
Thank you, Surya. Thank you for inviting me.
And for all of you out there who came on to our discussion, thank you for your questions and your comments and observations. Subscribe to us on our website. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter. Thank you very much.